close enough for my reckoning here, Moxie, and we're seeing Rain Day coming in on McCree, presumably to deal with Miko.
You've got to deal with the Sombra. You've been really having a painful time with those EMPs. You can try and prevent it by just preventing the Sombra from existing, but it's not the McCree that's finding value right now, it's Vegeta on the Pharah.
Finds the opening pick. We'll see Flex God on the ball, wanting to go in contest point, buys a little bit of attention, but Jordan managed to get the dive out there, almost taking out the Pharah. Vegeta struggling a little bit here. Jordan pounced on Power Drive, demect, but kills starting to rack up now for Manipulus. Enjoy silence with a punchback, takes Victorious down. And it's going to be Flex God with a pick onto Fruity that really starts to round things out now for Sharks in Suit, who are not looking like the underdogs we expected.
Sharks in Suit's going to be coming in with a whole amount of ultimates to this next fight as well. You've got that prolonged, so if the point starts to get a little bit dicey and Manipulus look like they're going to be able to go for that flip, you can just drop Hammond Mines, and that guarantees you so much space, sets you up for this EMP, sets you up for this barrage. You do have to remember that Rainy Day on that McCree is going to be the bane of the Pharah's existence. Mercy already out, Pharah's going to be so hard to actually survive through.
It's a good pick, but the nano boost onto the Pharah is likely to work out particularly well in their favor. He's very low, but still going to be able to survive that. And in the meantime, supports offline, Rainy Day down. Vegeta looking for something with the barrage here, but finding a whole lot of defense matrix for their trouble, and no kills at all there, even with ultimates committed in a big way here for Manipulus. Sharks in Suit still finding control of the point as the pick comes through onto Jordan. West chase down looking for that displacement, but can't find it, Moxie.
Still holding on to this EMP as well. West used that Diva Bomb, so you don't have that immediate follow-up. But when you're denied your abilities, it's very easy to win a fight.
There's the hack! Didn't interrupt the barrage, but did put Vegeta right into the line of fire here. Now Fruity with the Primal Rage looking for something. See Miko in the back line waiting for the hack to come through on the health pack, ready to go. And the flip's going to happen here, Moxie.
Yeah, flip already happened, so Flex God not wanting to go in quite yet with those Hammond Mines. Jordan's got the Diva Bomb as well, so you don't want to put that in only to find all of your hard work, as that Hammond's completely shredded by a nuke going off in the midst of them. Because setting up for an EMP, trying to make sure that you get the Ana and the McCree to cancel that CC to allow Enjoy Sounds a little bit extra life on that Pharah.
I'm being really slow and patient here on this EMP. It's such a fight winner here. You can't afford to waste it. Coming in on the right-hand side, there's the EMP. It's going to hit two. Both tanks momentarily taken offline now for Manipulus. Flex got in a good position here to drop some mines, but takes the anti-healing nade and has to back out. And West is now down. So looks to me like another fight win here for Manipulus.
Miko got anti. Used the EMP after you'd already lost your Mercy. Then Golden Falls very shortly afterwards. You could have held on to it for this next fight, and West Bomb could have been absolutely huge. As it is, now you've got to worry about that Winston bubble. You can't just take it off the board. You've also got to worry about coming out straight into Rainy Day, who's going to have this data, who's going to zone out your pharmacy completely.
The self-destruct out first, and Rainy Day now looking for angles. Sleep in the middle of the barrage for Vegeta. Gets the anti-nade and gets taken down. Res is available, though, for both teams here. JCK brings Miko back into the fight, ready to go, but it's a little too late here as West is going to fall, and they need a reset here to retake this point.
They need some form of initiation, and they need to shut this McCree down as well. Rainy Day has been the absolute pain of that DPS lineup existence. You counter both the Sombra, you counter both the Pharah. They're showing a flexibility that Sharks and Suits just aren't having right now, and it's something that they desperately need.
Rainy Day now playing at the extreme range of this McCree, but it would put in a lot of pressure. Can't quite find the D-Mech, but now has a great position just to rein in the high noon into the point. We've got the electric cowboy, the nano boosted high noon, finds the pick onto Flex God, gets the stun, fans the hammer. We'll see West able to escape through that and enjoy silence, taken out in the middle of their ultimate. Everybody alive and well now for Manipulus. Not quite the same for Sharks and Suits, and we're going to go to 1-1 on Legion.
I mean, I just want to see what these guys lock in with on Control Center. Because Control Center, I think, has been one of those maps most affected by changes to live patches that we've been seeing for the past couple of weeks, because suddenly your DPS lineup has changed drastically on how you approach this point. So we're seeing Junkrat for some teams. We're seeing less Reinhardt, but neither of these guys have been locking in the double shielding quite yet, and that's not going to change. It will be 2 Reinhardts, just going to be different tanks with them. And if you go between this Orisa and this Sigma, I do give it to the Orisa. The Orisa has that hull, has that fortify. You get a lot more crowd control, and you set your team up perfectly with those hulls, with those superchargers to get yourself all of the team kills you need.
Well, the character select roulette has finally stopped spinning, and we've got an idea of what we're dealing with here. May McCree, May Junkrat. Opening wall will stop Golden connecting with the rest of the team, but he is able to retreat back and find some safety there for now. High ground position now for Manipulus. They're looking for that first pick, and then they're going to press the go button, but it comes back onto them as Jordan goes down. Raid able to find Enjoy Silence, so 1-for-1 trade, but as it's going to be a tank that goes down, the sustainability here for Sharks in Suits goes right, for Manipulus goes right the way down, and Sharks in Suits with the first cap.
Well, interesting you say sustainability, because that is something Sharks and Suits don't really have a lot of when this fight becomes that drawn-out slugfest. They're running 2 off supports. The Stardust is going to be coming with that Coalescence, and that's going to allow you all of the aggression Fruity needs. You just have to be careful to hold his shield up when West brings that hammer down.
Double projectile now. They are going to be walking into the rally from JCK. We'll see the Shatter come out and the Coalescence, but Enjoy Silence with the double with the Conch Mine. Able to start this fight off in a big way, but Vegeta's punching back, and he's got the Riptire. He finds Golden, and now it's a 2v1. As Vegeta starts to close the distance, Enjoy Silence goes down, and they've done this with just the 2 of them.
You just don't have that sustainability. You're running up against the Moira. She's going to be keeping the front line pumped full of heals, basically going to be going on to that Batista to grab that Immortality field, and as you keep the ultimate economy. You've already got a Sign Barrier though, and that you can use aggressively. Now you've got Immortality field in play. Just wait for Sharks and Suits to engage. It all comes down to whether or not Manipulus are able to get out of this fight cleanly. They've got the Sign Barrier, but they don't want to use it.
Start things off. Riptire will Enjoy Silence. Finds the halt, but a beautifully timed Sound Barrier from Dongalicious. Stops that coming through entirely. Answering Sound Barrier from Golden as well. Which means nobody's dying just yet. We'll see the first pick come through as FlexGod takes Jordan out of the fight. Rainy Day is on low health, but he's got the high ground here, and he's looking for picks, but FlexGod with a bit of flak, the side takes him down, and there is the flip. We've got a case of the bouncing control center, Moxie.
It's the seesaw, Phil, and it might be going around for another spin. Because Vegeta's got that Riptire, and again, the Stardust has got this Coalescence, especially with Miko going down early. Huge opening for Manipulus to seize.
Yeah, this is going to be great. They are going to be walking into a Supercharger and an Amplification Matrix, but with a lot of your DPS now off the table, are you going to want to commit that? Here comes Vegeta with the tire. Prince of Saiyans, Prince of Riptires, getting the double there. Once more, winning out the team fight, and Manipulus in charge of the control center once again.
And you set Fruity up beautifully to land the biggest of shatters, because Sharks and Suits, they've got to go through. They either have to go for that long rotation and lose time, or they just try and eat the damage and go for a choke. But Miko again falls early. It does come through. Rainy Day gone, but he wasn't as close to ult as Miko. They're not feeling that loss as much.
A couple of missteps, and even with a player down, Sharks and Suits are opting for the aggression here. Jordan closing in on having that Gravitic Flux, will pull the trigger on it. Raises them up, slams them down, Golden down, and the Junkrat offline as well. Vegeta with the chase, launching in the mines, looking for targets, trying to find the kills. Will get a couple on the back end. FlexGod goes down, and they're pressing their way to spawn. He may have overstayed his welcome though, as Miko finds him.
I mean, that's just a little bit overconfidence, isn't it? You were so close to that tire, you thought maybe you'd be able to get enough damage on through. But now it's Enjoy Silence's Riptire that's going to be cutting the team if it even gets there! Jordan picks it out!
That's absolutely huge. Miko gets an opening here. Dongalicious was very close to having that sound berry, and they're going to want that, particularly as the flashbang kill comes through to Fruity, and West is unconcerned. Swings in. It's going to be the flip here, but it's last fight territory.
Well, if you're Rainy Day, you've got a Dragon Strike. So if you're Sharks and Suits, you've got to be very careful about where you hold. This is the correct choice. They're going to be on point, so they have the option to try and split if the Dragon Strike comes through, as opposed to holding on choke, where you can be caught out in those thin, narrow spaces. Just going to let the team walk into you with that Shadow, with that Sound Barrier there, if you need it when Desiree pops that Coalescence.
Flex going with the power driver in to initiate. Coalescence now out from Pistorius, looking for targets instead. Finds the business end of the Earth Shatter. Sound barrier out, but Vegeta's looking for somebody with a Riptide, but Enjoy Silence. He's going to find that out instead. No fight-saving ultimate for him this time. He's able to find one, and it's Miko with the flashbang roll, flashbang fan, the hammer combo that starts to get this fight going. Flex God with the double on the minefield, and it's looking like it might be an uncharacteristic W for Sharks in Suits against their rivals Manipulus.
Well, they've still got that amplification matrix, so if anyone from Manipulus touches, they've got to first walk through the absolute gauntlet of the damage being hammered into them. Sharks and Six walk away with Li Xiang and Phil. I feel like I'm a broken record at this point by the amount of times that I say it. Batiste! Immortality field! It's so important! Even if you're running that Murray, even if you're running that Lucio, right? You have a lot of healing, but you don't have immortality. When an ultimate comes through, the damage sticks.
You saw what Manipulus had to do, and they actually pulled it off once, was getting the sound barrier out from Dongalicious to counter the tie. That is so hard to do. It's so hard to predict that. Why make things that much harder for yourself? Why not just, get the immortality field?
25-second cooldown.
25 seconds.
It's a 25-second cooldown. You don't need to worry about building up one of the slowest ultimates in the game, which is ironic given it is on one of the faster characters in the game. Life balance, everyone's got the seesaw. But, so often we see it can work. Moira and Lucio, you've got that speed, you've got the aggression, but it has to work immediately. You have to secure that first pick in every single one of those fights so that the other team just aren't able to pull out Immortality Field in time to save their fallen comrade, or even better yet, you baited it out of them before an ultimate comes through.
Either way, though, if you're Sharks in Suits here, you've got to be pretty happy with that, because your last couple of meetings with Manipulus have not gone your way at all. To get a point on the board in the first round has got to be a real spirit booster for these guys.
It's close, though. And that's the thing. So if you're Sharks and Six, you can't get comfortable. Because we saw a different team, right? We saw a very confident team that first map around where they had the Sombra, where Miko was able to just get free reign a lot of the time and do so much damage. And the Diva bombs weren't really contested. The Winston was away, wasn't protecting the backline with that bubble. As soon as Miko has to go off the Sombra and goes onto the McCree, we saw them fall twice too early in engagements. And you can't afford to lose a player that early in an engagement, because not only are you missing presence and numbers, you're missing a massive amount of damage and control. McCree, he's there to just try and shred those shields. He's there to try and pick yourself up a little bit of extra damage to force, if there's a Batiste on the other side, to burn the Immortality Field early on into a fight, and then your team can punish it. When you're missing that member, you've got to cover it up with either extra damage of your own, and that means an ultimate or getting a trade pick, and that just did not happen.
Unfortunately not. Looks like we've got our next map lined up and ready to go, though, Moxie. And we are going to see Rialto coming up in the mix. So, given what we've seen from these guys and what we know about them, are we expecting any big wrinkles here?
I don't think so. You've got a lot of standards of Rialto, right? You see the crossfire being set up, everyone aims to take control of that courtyard, tries to get that first fight of the first corner in their possession. Faris come out of the spawn doors, Ashe comes out of the spawn doors, McCree comes out of the spawn doors, a lot of Batiste, a lot of Brigitte. Sometimes we get to see Lucio, sometimes we get to see a little bit of environmental kill shenanigans. But I don't think there's going to be any of that right now.
No, hopefully not. We'll maybe see a little bit of adherence to a meta now that we're away from Control Center. I think it lends itself a lot more to the double shield, the Genji poke kind of composition we're seeing a lot of here. So, my expectation is we'll see things settle down a little bit now that we move into Rialto.
You've got to take advantage of that double shield, because this map lends itself so perfectly to poke. You have all of these really nice open line of sights, straight, narrow roads, where there's just nowhere to hide. And if you do try to hide, the Orisa can just come in with that halt, and all of your careful planning, all of your careful hiding is just put to absolute naught. And so I think it's of no surprise, least of all ourselves, that that's exactly what we're seeing. Poke compositions across the board.
Currently got a little bit of a wrinkle there. Enjoy Silence might be sitting on the Pharah, but I kind of think just in the face of the damage and the shielding available for Manipulus here on the defense, that why would you put yourself in the position where you don't have the advantage of an Ashe that can kind of get around that shield in a big way, or a Genji that can come through and dash through the shields? I feel like it's a mistake.
Trade the Genji, the pressure on that backline for pressure on the front line, right? And if Miko's able to hit their shots, if you're able to busy up the backline with one DPS, then that front line is just not going to be able to survive without that Ana healing them.
Well, no surprises here for where we're seeing the defense start off. A little bit of early poke at the top here, and then away to where they can control this choke from the square. And this is where we're going to see the kill feed really start to light up.
A little bit of a slow pace. That's all going to change as soon as that first corner gets rounded and goes down. So you're missing a lot of pressure, which means free reign for Manipulus.
Enjoy Silence gets brought back into the fight here, so now an advantage for Sharks in suits. And there's Jordan down as well, and Manipulus seeming a little bit absent on this defense, Moxie.
Seeming a little bit absent, not on the defense, but in cancelling the rest. You had such a huge opening when you get that far out of the way, right? It removes a lot of pressure. Pressure that you need to have for your DPS to actually sustain, to actually not go down like we just saw Vegeta do. That's what happens when there is no attention diverted away from your DPS. They're gone within seconds. They can't even pass.
Oh dear!
Enjoy Silence going to be going off on that, but Rainy Day is taken along for a ride. If you're Manipulus, that's something you want back.
Yeah, this is a nice recon test, though, as Vegeta's able to take down the Immortality field, but they're trying to do this into the face of the Amplification Matrix. Miko on the off angle decides they don't need that 100% damage boost, and instead can get picks on their own. But Vegeta coming alive with a blade, able to find the double, looking for the third. Fruity robs them of it. Dash reset comes through, finds the pick onto JCK, and sends them packing back to spawn.
Oh, Sharks and Sapes, this is now the toughest way to get back onto that payload. This is hell on earth to walk through. You've got a poke down composition already set up. They've got an eye full of courtyard everywhere you come from. Even this pharmacy is going to be spotted out instantly, and Rainy Day clocks it almost immediately.
Oh no! Vegeta gets caught out. The Bob coming in as well, and he just runs Rainy Day down, even with the Amplification Matrix in play. And in the confusion, Enjoy Silence gets into the back and has the barrage ready to go. A casual rocket to deal with the Storius, and that's going to be where the offense punches through.
You never take your eye off the birdie. You never take your eye off of Pharah when you know that she's going for the wraparound. And when Pharah's going for a wraparound, 99% of the time, they've got an ultimate to put right into your backside.
Oh,
whenever
wow.
it's caught completely unawares, Vegeta going to be staggered out, wasting yet more time, wasting yet more space as this payload gets to move completely uncontested right now, though.
Oh, Miko, a little bit of a misplay there with the TNT right into the middle of the wall. And now they're trying to play into the supercharger. Holt is there, and we're going to see Manipulus start to press the advantage with the supercharger here. They're looking for picks, but so far, nothing on the board. Amplification Matrix now out for Sharks and Zeus, but placed right the way back. It allows Manipulus to get around the corner and away from the incoming damage. Holt into the Gravitic Flux, but it's only going to find the Sigma, and there's no kill on the back of there thanks to the Immortality field. Rez comes through, brings Miko back into the fight, closing and having the bomb ready in this fight as well. And now a supercharger on the side of Sharks in Suits means that Manipulus are very much caught on the back foot. They found a pick here. Flex God's going to go down, and it is very briefly playtime for Vegeta before he just gets rocked out of that by the Pharaoh.
But it's enough. The Genji comes through, and it's enough of a threat that Sharks and Soup panic. So much utility, so many cooldowns get burned, and they just aren't able to have anything left in the can for when the rest of Manipulus just claps onto them. And now they're in an even worse position. They've got to move past Bridge, and that means you are facing a barrage of damage from Rainy Day, but Destorius goes down, and there's no mercy on the other side. If you're Sharks and Zeus, you can now take the high ground. You can now set up Enjoy Silence for this barrage, knowing you're not going to get left.
Enjoy Silence. He went for the roof surf and found Rainy Day waiting at the bottom of the ramp, but Bruce is able to find him in the middle of the ultimate. We see the Bob on the field now as well. pressuring the high ground position, but Miko starting to close in, gets too close to comfort, and Vegeta cuts him down to size. Amplification Matrix up here as Vegeta secures a second kill. Rainy Day through the amp, finds Flex God, and the cart's gonna stall yet again for Sharks in Suits.
Oh, Vegeta and Rainy Day, though, go far too aggressive right now. That payload might not be stalling for very long because Miko's going to go on to the McCree. They know that there's a blade in play. They know that Vegeta's going to be coming straight for that team, and they are going to do everything in their power to try and stop him. Flashbang, Sigma Flux, Amplification Matrix. It's a smorgasbord of Genji shots.
Of course, we will be coming in very shortly to Fruity's Supercharger here. So the Super Blade looking like a real possibility here. Gonna round things out to start off with Fruity going down! No Supercharger for the Blade, but one pick already. Donglish able to find a second, and Vegeta takes Golden out of the fight. Looking like we're gonna see another hold on the defense here for Manipulus.
Sigma Flux was used, but it didn't catch Vegeta. And that was the one target that it really crucially needed to yank up. West being staggered out as well when you've got 48 seconds left on the clock. You don't have ultimates. Flex God is going on to the Winston just so he can try and close the gap. In fact, they're just committing straight to full dive right now, Phil, so they've got more time to touch the payload, more time to build Enjoy Silence's barrage. And it's something that needs to come through, but that Pharah has to stay alive. That's going to be increasingly difficult to do when Rainy Day and Donglicious both hit those ults.
It's been a slow approach back to the payload here for Sharks in Suits, and they've given over time for some ults to charge, and Miko gets caught out early. With 18 seconds left to go on the clock, it was looking dire before the res came through. Miko is now back in the fight, but Rainy Day has a Bob. That sent out here could completely stop up Enjoy Silence, who is desperately trying to farm this barrage and get a couple of picks. Going for the rotation around the side, pressure added from a couple of different angles now, but Rainy Day knows exactly where he is. Approach good into the back and sending in Bob to pile in the pressure. Vegeta with the double. Enjoy Silence in the back, throws in the barrage, but makes themselves a sitting duck there for the Bob. Vegeta rounds things out with the blade, and that is it. Yet another push on Rialto that ends just round this final corner.
And yet again, Miko looks really uncomfortable on that McCree. And they were finding so much value with the Sombra, right? And I know Sombra is a big sleeper pick right now in Overwatch. We don't get to see a lot of her, but Vegeta was finding a lot more value on that Genji, and there was just no shutdown on him. If you had that Sombra, we saw that he got cowed. We saw that he just could not get in and get out alive. And that just did not happen when Miko's only got that flashbang to call on.
There is a glimmer of hope there, however, for Sharks in Suits, because there is still plenty of stopping distance here. And it's not like it was the most extreme version of that corner shutdown on B. They actually got a little bit of progress past that, almost to the end of point B. So a stronger hold here on the defense will see them take this map.
And I mean, I think Rialto is actually one of, if not the most full holds that we get to see of a map of Overwatch, right? Because it is so hard, so rare that we actually get to see that payload move from A into B, and
what is this?
I don't like this play, Phil.
You sounded excited for a second, Moxie.
No, that's the sound of dread. This is something that can work, it can buy you seconds, but it doesn't buy you a full hold because it's very easy once you lose a single member of your team.
And they've been immediately scouted. Immediately scouted out. And of course the respawns are so heavy here that you've got to secure kill after kill after kill after kill to make this work. We'll find the first pick there as Jordan goes down. Immortality Field is now out, and you get a quick reset here for Donglicious on theirs, even as they respawn. Hey, it's working out so far for them, Moxie.
But we might see the adjustment that we saw in the previous series. Something like a Widowmaker or a Batten going onto those sidelines to just burn for those double shields, or a Pharah to set up a crossfire, because at the moment, they just can't walk out of spawn.
Oh my gosh, Nestorius. Really heavily focused down, but this is where things start to crumble. The first leg of the table pulled out as Golden goes down. Enjoy Silence down low, and we can't get the Immortality Field around the corner, and that is it. Vegeta just goes to town on them and comes out with a blade as a souvenir.
Oh, West has got to be so annoyed by that one, because it actually looks like the Reinhardt got separated by their own maze wall. And JCK had to throw in that immortality field, but obviously line of sight, you're separated between that main tank and that wall. It just doesn't have any effect. If you're Sharks and Suit though, you will have a chance at a secondary contest. You will have a chance of building up to this blizzard, but it needs to come online really quickly, Phil, because Vegeta's already got that blade. That's the win condition in Manipulus's hands.
Yeah, they're going to be really good at shutting this down. There's a first pick here in favor of Sharks and Suits as the Scorpius goes down, so no nano available for it. So this blade, it's coming in. It's vanilla style. He's able to find one Vegeta with the blade against the second, taken out by the High Noon. Joy Silence able to find one here, but it's still not looking great for Sharks and Suits as they are now running to keep up with the car to keep that contest going. And that's a 2k, a 3k for Jordan as the payload rounds in, and if West isn't careful, he could find himself staggered out here.
Oh, you don't want to lose that Reinhardt either. You're so close to that shatter. You're going to be relying on this Reinhardt to safely execute Enjoy Silence's Blizzard as well. Because Jordan on that Sigma means you do have the chance that Kinetic Grasp can just deny all of your hard-earned work. But Manipulus right now denying Sharks and Suits the chance to set up on that high ground.
Yeah, great forward positioning here. They are coming into the rally. Rain Day with the tire. It takes a lot of damage on the way in, and it only finds Shield. So he's got to back out now, even with that Fortify up, still taking a huge amount of damage. Here's the play on the Blizzard, drops down onto the low ground with it, but finds themselves in the line of fire of Vegeta, who was not fazed by the Blizzard at all. And Rainy Day with the double takes them down, and this car is just going to keep running. And this is going to be a very difficult corner for them to retake here for Sharks and Suits. They might not get this defense.
Especially because Dongalicious has got this amplification matrix, and that buys you the time, can pick you up that first kill. Vegeta's going to be coming into this blade. Sharks and Suits, there's no Tracer, there's no Hammond, there's not even a Lucio.
They're not even trying. They've got to go, they've got to touch. It's going to be down to Golden, and he's too slow. He hits the stairs, can't find the card, and Sharks and Suits just give it up.
Of the game.
That's painful. But first we're gonna get to see Vegeta get play of the game. With the Genshin, there we go. It was Enjoy Silence's wall. That really mucked things up for West. And that's the danger when you've got a Mei player, right? You have to have that communication coming through, because that wall, it's that double-edged sword. It cuts off your own players as well.
Well, I think the bigger part of that for me was that the wall from Enjoy Silence didn't just cut off the Reinhardt from the rest of the team, it cut off the Reinhardt from the immortality field as well. That wall needed to come down way, way quicker than it did, because it absolutely cost them that hole. They could have kept that going a few more seconds. Easily.
There was an idea, I'm sure, like you wanted to allow the Reinhardt safe passage out of the fight by getting him into a little bit of a clear distance and then walling up his exit, so he would be able to get safely out. But unfortunately, the times get just a little bit higgledy-piggledy, and the result is what we got to see in play of the game. But moving forward, it is currently one apiece for both of these teams, which means Sharks and Suits do have a chance to redeem themselves. We talked about how strong they looked in those opening maps of Lijiang. They can look that strong again. Just perhaps maybe they should return to that composition where they were finding so much value. They had a very good Pharah play, they had a very good Sombra play, and we didn't get to see any of it on Rialto.
There's one of the funny aspects of the control map type in particular is that when you have maps that are particularly tradey, and Control Center is famous for being a seesaw for this, it really, really matters whether you get first or second cap. And then it doesn't really matter how strong you are, how close the map goes. It's just down to the mathematics of it. And so I kind of feel like, we saw a strong showing for Sharks in Suits in that map type. And I feel like they're going to struggle to make the mathematics of the remaining maps really work out for them, given how Hybrid and how Assault really work out. So they've still got their work cut out for them here.
Well, I mean, if you go by that logic, they should be very strong at the first part of Hybrid, right? When it's that static point that you have to unlock. But as soon as the payload starts moving, this is a team that will perhaps struggle, because they knew what they needed to do. We saw that they were coming in and they were halfway there. They had some good ideas. That full hold that they tried to go for very optimistically on a Rialto. It had some legs. They had the Reinhardt, they had the Mei, they had stopping power, they kept a hold of the Petit, so you've got immortality field if things go wrong. but the execution was ever so slightly off. And if that execution continues to be ever so slightly off, Manipulus are going to continue and continue and continue to take advantage of it until we see an end result popping up on our screens.
It's one of my favorite historical interactions is just how important a May wall can be because it's make or break, whether or not you are splitting off an enemy teammate or your own teammate. And if it goes down at just the wrong time or just up at just the wrong time, it can, as we've seen, completely stuff things up. So I kind of want to see them maybe avoid that next time because you can't be having mistakes like that at this level of play because it will cost you maps.
Well, I mean, heading over to Hollywood, we don't necessarily see Mei being played here, right? It's a lot of hit scan, a lot of Genji, a lot of Ash, because you've got high ground ledges that you want to take control of, that you really want to punish, force the other
Hmm.
side to take a massive amount of damage before they're actually able to intrude through. And that is what Overwatch is really becoming right now. When ultimates are available, it's a game of ultimate chicken, but until then, it's a game of how long are we able to stop you before you can actually move towards us?
I, I agree with that, and I kind of think like we've not really seen from Sharks in Suits that specific composition used particularly well with the Genji and the Ash, and it would almost surprise me to see them bring it out here. And given how strong it looked for Manipulus, I have doubts for Sharks in Suits whether they can even run the mirror in a successful way.
I mean, I hope that we get to see the Sombra pick up. I really do, because it worked. It shut Vegeta down. It did its job. It did its purpose. It was just that EMP wasn't finding the amount of value that it should be. It's a team fight winning ultimate, so you've got to treat it as such.
Very true, Moxie. But looks like we've got maybe another little technical wrinkle here. We're just going to throw to a very quick break while we iron that one out, and hopefully we're back with you very shortly. Welcome back, everybody. Ready to go into our next map. It is, of course, Hollywood, our hybrid map for today. And Moxie, we've kind of been over what we're expecting from these two teams. Anything to add, or are we just going to sit in silence until they're ready to go?
I've just got my fingers crossed, you know?
Okay.
Hopefully, we're going to see that Sombra come out. Because it has been the only way that Sharks and Suits have been reliably able to shut this Genji down. The McCree play has been just a little bit inconsistent. You know what? It's not even going to be a Sombra.
Okay.
They're on the attacking side, Phil. We're going to do it. It's the golden rule of casting. Always talk about the defending side first. And hey, look, it's like Genji. Vegeta's going to be picking up the mantle of that. No one could have seen that coming. What surprises me, though, is Rainy Day going for this McCree instead of the Ashe. Which does mean you're going to get a lot of value shutting down Enjoy Silence, but it also means you're going to be really, really, really important in shutting down the dive if they actually come out with this. FlexGod is going to have such a hard time on this Winston because the moment he dives in, you don't have that Batiste, you're only going to be having that Ana, that Mercy healing, no immortality field. If you get flashbanged, you're dead.
This dive with wings approach here from Sharks and Suits, I think, has some merit, but it's going to be tricky to make such a weird comp work into such a static comp. And Rainy Day already at 22%. He has such a bead here on both Enjoy Silence and Miko. It means that they can't really find a way in. That's big. See Enjoy Silence going down to Astorius. Nice big connect there on the sticky bombs, but Rainy Day is able to just take Miko to task. He will fall here as well, but looks like we've lost enough here of Sharks and Suits that we might not see them push this offense much further.
JCK already down. The one thing you can take solace in if you're Sharks and Suits is that you're building up towards an Ana. And even better, you can put it onto FlexGod, he can jump in with that, creates a little bit more space. If he gets low, you've got Primal Fullback.
Here comes the dive, both tanks up onto the high ground. FlexGod now ready with that Primal Rage, but not going to use that while sleeping. Here we go, into the high ground, gets the smash through onto Rain Day, takes out, finds Jordan here, gets Destorius. This has been absolutely huge, just from the Primal Rage.
The shutdown was used too early. The sleep that comes onto FlexGod when he initially jumps, not when he pops Primal, which is the way teams try to shut down that ultimate. And as a result, they've just got to deal with that monkey just throwing all of their players completely around like ragdolls, and now you've got to deal with Sharks and Suits trying to take this high ground from you. Miko's going to have a duplication, and you can have in a moment a Batiste, an amplification matrix, an immortality field to see yourself through Vegeta's blade.
Quite right, stay 3% away from that. You see Miko taking a bit of a nap there, able to get out clear. Just now has that off. Nice big connect with the pulse bombs combo with the finishing beam to take that Astorius offline. And Sharks and Suits are running this winged dive to astonishing effect here. Manipulus just don't seem to have any answers.
They're so disconnected right now. You can see they're trying to find all of these ways to deal with this. Rainy Day's gone on to that Widowmaker. 67%. You're hitting your shots, but you don't hit the ones that really count, right? Miko has not gone down, and Enjoy Silence, if he gets close to you, is just going to rip your face straight off. It's going to be a counter dive coming through from Manipulus. They've still got this Brigida though, so you will have a little bit more CC on your side.
I guess they're hoping they can buy some space for Rain Day to maybe find a shot here. In comes the duplicate, will pick up the Winston. Vegeta able to find the double, Dongalicious with another, looking for a third here. Looking pretty good for Manipulus for now, as Vegeta finds JCK. Primal Rage will now come out for Miko. They're going to have to use this to get out, because this is not a team fight that Sharks and Suits are winning, and Manipulus finally managed the hold.
So the swap coming out from Manipulus, it's not just to go counter dive, it's to counter the duplication. Miko doesn't have any good target other than the Diva, and you opt into the Winston instead. You don't have that Batiste, you can't go for Mortality Field, you can't see yourself alive through Vegeta's Blade. Miko's now going to go on to the Sombra, knowing that you're not going to have those targets for that ultimate. You're going to instead be trying to build up to EMP. Keep your eye on Rainy Day though. If that was able to get an early shot, that is fight over.
You can see immediately the focus comes in to try and find Miko. They knew they were on the field. And we're going to see two picks out early as Miko gets Dongalicious out of the equation. FlexGod now looking for that third pickup, trying desperately to focus down Rainy Day. Will eventually get it, but in the meantime, we've lost two here, and FlexGod is looking dangerously low. Enjoy Silence with a blade here, might just turn the tables. The slice comes through, the D-Mech onto Jordan, very close to point B.
Rainy Day is just off the Widowmaker immediately. That's the trade-off when you have the Widowmaker. You become very, very dangerous if you get that first shot off, but you become very, very vulnerable when the team decides to focus you down. You're on the Tracer, you're buying time, allowing Vegeta to come back in with the blade, but it will be dry. There is no nano, no kick
And the
behind it.
recontest.
And there's no recontest either!
It looked like they might have got the communications wrong there, because Rainy Day was in and everyone else was holding back. Now we're going to see Sharks in Suits press in. We will have the Nano Booster ready to go as well as the Valk, but this fight not happening just yet.
They're just waiting, trying to set up this EMP. It's going to be the start aligning if you're able to get it online by the time Vegeta pulls that blade. No, the Gen's not even going to wait.
Well, Vegeta pulls out the blade. Jordan's able to find one already in the confusion, looking for the slash onto the mech. Can't even fight the D-mech with the mech, and Golden is brought back into the fight. In the meantime, there is some backline shenanigans going on here for Sharks in Suits. Jordan with the 7-0, not able to find too much, and has now traded out, and it's Flex God with a Primal Rage is going to be starting things off. We'll see the D-mech come through. It's still very tradey here, but it looks more or less like a team fight win for Manipulus.
Well, Sharks and Suits, if they're able to get this reset going, they can have anything you can do, I can do better case, because Miko's got EMP. West just needs your mech back, and then you'll have the self-destruct to couple it up with. And you can see Manipulus, they're adjusting the positioning accordingly. They don't want to get caught out all in a group by this.
The EMP blade combo here, even without the nano boost, is potentially huge. There's the M, catches 4 in its sights. Self-destruct is the combo we're going for here. We'll get a kill and a D-mech. Joy Silence still has the blade ready to go, but now he's got to deal with a nano boosted Vegeta. The nano is shortly going to run out, and we've got 2 picks already. It's an expensive team fight, but it might be the stall out here. Vegeta focused down.
Enjoy Silence, not able to live to pull out that blade. Sharks in Suits, you're losing members, you've lost your Sombra, you need to reset before you lose more seconds, but they're still coming in!
Here's the blade into the back of Enjoy Silence, finds the reset on Dongalicious, gets Jordan out of the mech, takes them out with the blade, and that is going to be it for that, but they've done the damage now. Big lead coming out from Pistorius. Enjoy Silence, focused down by Vegeta with a melee kill to really round things out here. Vegeta getting focused though. Flex God doesn't really care how much you dip and dive, because the Tesla Cannon is going to find you. Either way, self-destruct over the top. Goes a little wide though, can't find its target, and Jordan unable to get back into the mech. The Winstons, they pass in the night like 2 ships in the dark. And Fruity is in big trouble here. Low health, focused down as JCK is able to find him. Rally out from Dongalicious, but they've not got the numbers on their side. And the self-destruct scares them off the cuff. Now, Dongalicious trying to keep this going as Vegeta pulls out the blade, looking for picks here. It's still looking heavily in favor of Sharks and Suits.
Rainy Day going to be coming with a pulse bomb, but you're EMP'd, you're not going to get the opportunity to use it for a couple more seconds, and that's all Sharks and Suits need.
It was a big timeline there for Manipulus, but Sharks and Suits had the numbers advantage, and they had everything they needed to round that out. 48 seconds in the time bank as they finish Hollywood.
And I get to sit here feeling extremely smug, because you know when we get to see Sharks and Suits at their strongest, Phil? When they're running the Sombra.
Well, we're not going to take that one away from you today, Moxie. Clearly that's the pick, and Sharks and Suits have somehow telepathically picked this up, because one assumes they're not watching the stream at the same time as playing. So good work on communicating that to Miko.
I mean, EMP, we saw it in that last fight, right? It shut the ultimates that were available for Manipulus down. And Primal Rage and Pulse Bomb. Primal Rage is so annoying to deal with. You've got a massive HP monkey just juggling everybody around, making sure that the seconds keep burning off, and that would set Rainy Day up to get a Pulse Bomb stick to go for your backline. And if you could manage to get one of those out of the way, then you can really quickly claw the fight back into your favor with how close your respawns are. EMP completely shoots that straight through the head. And so, hey look, Miko's going to be coming out with that pick yet again, because if it ain't broke, don't fix your composition.
Interesting to me to see what it is Manipulus are going to do here to try and counteract this. They've got to realize by now that they've kind of forced Miko into doing this. Like, they've counted him on everything else, and Sombra's his best look. Let's see how this works out for them as they've got their turn at the offense now, Moxie.
This is awful. Every time Miko tries to go in to get a hack off or try and chunk a target down before a fight begins, you've got a Torment turret in your face, you've got a flashbang, you've got a Reinhardt hammer. There's just no way the Sombra can survive.
Yeah, she's going to be having taking very wide angles here and trying to pick out an isolated support in the back. So you will see the hack almost coming onto Pistorius, and Miko now at 30% of this ultimate, just playing in the back, being that annoying mosquito style of play. But Manipulus have managed to take the high ground here, and they've got the turret ready to discourage anybody from diving up to deal with them. Vegeta's got a good line here onto Miko as they come through, forcing them out before any hack shenanigans can begin.
Story's building towards that nano boost. Manipulus, they can just wait this one out. They've got to be careful though. The dive sees its opportunity and it picks Rainy Day out.
Yeah, beautiful focus there from Enjoy Silence. Takes Rainy Day out of the fight. Blake Scott still able to just pile in the Tesla cannon. Doesn't care where you are. We'll just find you regardless as Miko takes Vegeta out. Nice dive back in onto the top as Miko looking to focus down the final few targets. Almost gets pinned but gets bounced out of it. Enjoy Silence now has the blade ready to go. Doesn't need this. And that is one that Sharks and Suits have one handling.
Sharks and Suits going to be keeping a hold of those ultimates. And if you're Manipulus, you've just got to web the storm of the next fight. Look at what's gonna be available for the defense, Phil. And it's all going to start with an EMP. And the way that Manipulus play this composition, the way that they try to counter Miko is by grouping up. And that works when the Sombra doesn't have ultimate. But as soon as EMP comes online, grouping up is the worst thing that you can do.
Gotta wonder how good that ult tracking has been here. I wonder if we're going to see the EMP come out just to try and deal with the flux. But we will see her stunned out of that one. And Vegeta's able to find Enjoy Silence here as well. EMP off the table because Miko is down. And Manipulus, they've got the kills in their advantage. This was a massive shatter.
It was even bigger because look at the ultimates. Sharks and Suits committed so much. And now, they've got the EMP, they've got the bomb, but they don't have the blade. And you have to catch out both of these tanks, right? If you don't manage to get this Reinhardt, if you don't manage to get this Sigma, well, I say that. It's going to be a little bit of a swap up. If you don't manage to get the Winston, then that bomb combo is just not going to be big. If you're Manipulus, you have to be all tracking though. You have to know EMP's up and ready, and you cannot afford right now to send a full dive straight into the defenders, otherwise your backline is just going to be completely vulnerable to that nuke exploding in their face.
It is entirely possible for this EMP to get shut down, but currently Miko playing in a position where the McCree and the Brig not much of a threat. No, right into the Brig! As I say it, he walks into the shield and the shield lands on in a heavy way. So EMP not coming through. Blake Scott is able to find Rainy Day though, so no numbers have unfolded just yet. Vegeta gets Blake Scott, takes him out of the equation. The D-Mech comes through and Miko just completely whipped that team fight. That was theirs for the taking.
I mean, it was theirs for the taking, and Don Alexis just shoved a Brig shield straight into it. Oh, Sharks and Suits, that wing condition just goes completely down the drain. In this next fight, they will have the boost, they will have the blade, but you have to be extremely careful about when you pull it out, because chances are Rainy Day is just going to be waiting with that Deadeye, waiting for the blade ult line to come on through by himself and by his team all of the time as they get just forced to cower and hide behind the crate.
Rainy Day playing right the way in the back, knows that this High Noon has a huge amount of potential, sees the Genji coming towards him, but where is he? He finds him with a flick, pulls the trigger on the High Noon and Enjoys Silence, goes down, and that is 2 ults down for the price of 2. The Nano boosted High Noon finding a huge amount of value. Now Donalicious has the rally riding ready to go, but focused down by Flake Squad and taken out. Rainy Day will get the better of Flake Squad here. Looking pretty even as Rain Day finds the skull of Miko. Remake comes through as Fruity pulls the trigger on the Primal Rage and gets Golden, finds the Goomba Stomp onto JCK. Rainy Day looking for the rematch there with Enjoy Silence. Won't get it, but Enjoy Silence is now down. The payload rolling into point C.
Sharks and Suits, there's a lot of swap up on the DPS line, but there's not a lot of swap or flexibility on those tanks. You do have ultimates, you want to try and find value with those to stop Manipulus in their tracks. If you're able to win one of these team fights, you get to claw back all of the tempo and control of the way that they go, but it's so hard to properly pull this dive off, not just because you've got to coordinate 6 players, you've also got to coordinate them around so much CC.
Starting on the next fight here, we'll see the Primal Rage ready to go for Flake Squad. Needs to be careful because, of course, there are a couple of shutdown options here. Self-destruct into the back is going to find Pistorius. And without that on board, I was going to say maybe you don't want to commit some ults into this, but Vegeta pulls the trigger on the Molten Core. Won't find too much. You've got to hope that's the key for a reset here from Vegeta.
You've got to hope that that's going to be a swap coming through as well. Because there's no Sombra to deter. There is still the Genji and there is still the dive, but it's so hard to set a Tourbillon up on the attack when you've got Miko and McCree who can just look to the side and shoot your turret down.
Still rolling with the Tourbillon. Nano Boost comes out now. Where's it going to land? See that land onto Enjoy Silence and will find the double as the slash comes through, finds the third as Flex got Goomba Stomps Dongalicious down, and Fruity not allowed to reset. The D-Mech now coming through onto Jordan. We'll see them staggered out just that.
Sharks and Suits, they're in control of the high ground as well, so Miko's Deadeye can be huge. Jordan is going to be sticking with the D.Va means you do have defense matrix, you can eat a massive chunk of the damage, but Sharks and Suits, they know this as well, they can just chunk you down before it comes through.
You've got to be keeping track of where Miko is. The last thing you want to see is them drop down behind you and get the high noon. We'll see them go for the pull on the high noon, and they make themselves scarce. No skulls on board, buys them some time, buys them some space, but Vegeta finds Flex God in the middle of it. So now a big advantage for Manipulus as Jordan finds West. Miko's going to go down here as well. Manipulus unlikely to finish here with a bigger time bank than we saw for Sharks and Suits, but looking good to round out the level.
Well, they've got Molten Core, they've got Primal Rage. Those are two things you can use to make sure Sharks and Suits don't get to pull this blade out.
There's the tag in from Flex God, who will have the Primal Rage ready to go. Beautiful placement of the Molten Core. But all of Manipulus leave the cart now to take this fight that little bit further. And it allows Flex God all the space in the world to find value with the Primal Rage. We are now under a minute for Manipulus, and they may have just thrown this away, Mox.
The Molten Core placement was perfect. It was absolutely perfect, and they all just ran away from it. They needed to stand in it. Phil, I know lava can be scary, but it's safe for the rest of your team. Vegeta's onto Tracer, just so that you can still try and get some sort of fight going, because Tourbillon can be so very hard to set up in these scramble fights. You've got that Deadeye as well. If that can net you a first hit, absolutely huge, but it's got to find value. It's got to net you a kill.
Rainy Day needs to come up in a big way with the high noon. We're coming into the rally here as well, and I can't think of anything I would like to walk into less when you've got 15 seconds on the clock and are scrabbling for some purchase on the cart. He gets the opening. You're now down. Here's the opening. Rainy Day with the high noon in the back. Will find the pick. West goes down. Here's the high noon. The electric cowboy ready to go. And we are now seeing them take possession of the cart, but this is going to be an overtime cap for them here. And they're not out of the fight yet. Up on the high ground, it's Miko, but he's too far away, and he can't pull the trigger quick enough. So we're going to see another round here on Hollywood.
But there is a time difference, and that could be crucial. Well, because 48 seconds, it's another fight. It's another chance to build up ultimates. It's another chance to seize control, to seize opportunity of a first pick, and just push your way shoulder on to that point. So you gotta try and do this as quickly as you possibly can. There cannot be a single margin of error right now.
And you've got to think by now that Sharks in Suits, they've understood that the Sombra is very good for them, but Manipulus know that that's a real likelihood, and so they're going to be coming out of the gate with something that can possibly shut that down, but we're actually not going to be seeing that. It's going to be Miko on the Ashe now.
So you've got that crossfire that we talked about, right? You're sticking with this dive, which means you need distractions. The Winston, the D.Va, because you're running that Ana, because you're running that Mercy, and the Mercy's going to be with the Pharah, you've only got the Ana healing you. You've only got one support trying to keep two very large, very easy to hit tanks alive, and while Ana's healing wasn't really hit with that big of a nerf, the 75 to 70, you still feel a major difference when you're trying to keep two chunky tanks up in the middle of an entire team composition. So Miko and Enjoy Sense, they both have to pull their weight, because if a single bit of attention goes towards that tank lineup, it's just going to fade.
Boy, Rainy Day came so close to getting focused down there by Enjoy Silence. The defensive Pharah, not a thing we see a lot of here on Hollywood. If they can make it work, it's going to be really good for them. We'll see the one-for-one trade here, and respawns are going to heavily favor Pistorius. JCK down. Still a very slow push coming out here from Manipulus, and Rainy Day taking a huge face full of rocket.
27 seconds, and these guys haven't even passed 50% of an ultimate, and Vegeta even going to pass go right now. Joy Silence takes him straight off the board.
Well, Vegeta will be back in time for the final overtime fight here, but Enjoy Silence is just not being contested in a meaningful way. He has the high ground in every conceivable meaning of it, and he has kept this fight alive now. He's managing the full hole here on behalf of his team. There's the tag back in from Fruity on the wrecking ball, but numbers are not on his side. Tags back out to keep himself alive, rolling on through, but that has got to be it with a self-destruct to stop the recontest coming in. 2 Ks at the end, and we're looking down the barrel of potentially a draw here on Hollywood.
I mean, if you're Manipulus, you've got to be feeling really uncomfortable. When you go onto the defending side, you don't get the luxury of swapping up your composition, especially when you don't have a single tick that you can afford to sacrifice right now, Phil. So the composition that you come out of those spawn doors with has to be the perfect read for what Miko's going to be coming out with. Do you try and counter the Sombra with a Torbjorn, or do you try and account for the fact that there's going to be that crossfire, that Ashe coupled up with that Pharah, which found such astonishing value in that last engagement?
A minute compared to a minute 48 is an entire fight reset difference on the defense, and it's already so heavily defensive favored that if the read comes through, you know what they're running, you can go back and adapt really quickly. Manipulus kind of didn't have that time bank available to them to do that, and Sharks in Suits absolutely do here. So this is a very difficult defense for Manipulus.
I do like that Vegeta comes out in that Torbjorn, because it guarantees you safety both from something like an Echo and the Sombra. You get to counter 2 possibilities, rather than if you just go for something like a hit scan, which only counters the Ashe, and you run yourself the risk of finding yourself staring down at a Sombra. Fruity's going to be on the Reinhardt though, which means you've got to have that frontline presence. You've got to be constantly vigilant of where that Reinhardt's standing, make sure he's constantly with the team, otherwise he's just going to be gone.
Kind of makes me wonder if this is the read for Flex God on the Winston. Knows that Winston doesn't really want to get in and brawl with Reinhardt if he can help it. They're rotating around the left-hand side for now, whilst we're seeing the 2 DPS just pile in pressure onto this defensive encampment up in Cafe. We're gonna wait for the rest of the team to close the distance and then see Enjoy Silence, Miko and JCK start to come in and put down some damage. Sharks in Suits still being slow on the roll in here, but Miko gets the first pick. It's 5v6 territory now, and it's not looking good for Manipulus. Flex God desperately searching for this pick on to Jordan, and that is it. That is it. No chance of a recontest here at all for Manipulus. 1 tick's all they need, and we see Sharks in Suits take us to match point.
So it's interesting, we see the Reinhardt, and you rightfully think, okay, the Reinhardt's there to deal with the Winston. Winston doesn't want to dive into a Reinhardt when you go for that brawl fight. What does the Reinhardt do? He doesn't initiate the brawl fight. He sticks with the team. The entire team sticks together, so when the dive comes through, the amount of cleave damage that the Winston gets away with, and the Diva's there constantly making sure that you've got defense matrix, that your back is covered, already building up 50% of a primal in that first fight. The Reinhardt was just able to do nothing but hold his shield up. He wasn't able to swing his hammer around once.
And I think this is a real turn up for the books, because both you and I looking at this went, oh, cool, we got to go have some dinner after 3 maps. Because every time Manipulus and Sharks and Suits have met previously, it's gone the way of Manipulus. And it still could. You know, we could see us going to a map 5 and them squeak this out here, but the fact that Sharks and Suits have learnt enough in between now and the previous game against Manipulus says that this is not going to be easy for them, because Sharks and Suits have looked so much more adaptable, and when they adapt, they've looked very good at what they've picked.
I mean, the most interesting thing for me about Sharks and Suits is that they're not running traditional meta. At least not when we look at that DPS lineup. Genji, we say he's invaluable at the moment with the amount of damage he does, with the amount of jobs that he can juggle. He has frontline presence, he has backline presence, he has so much DPS counter presence. And yet Sharks and Suits, they're not running the Genji. They're getting away because they have really good communication. Miko is doing such a wonderful job of buying so much attention away from the rest of the team. We're seeing Manipulus, our composition, a lot of the DPS and how they sort of come out of the spawn room doors really revolves around what they're expecting Miko to come out onto. And that allows the dive to get in with a safe card, the safe passage to set you up to build in that cleave damage from the Winston to push Primal up, and for the Diva to get into position where you can go for those aggressive defense matrices and save your main tank.
Another really weird thing about this meta is normally we try and take our time to talk about, oh, the tanks are all doing this really well, the supports are doing this really well. It has felt an awful lot like it's hinged specifically on what Vegeta and Miko have been doing. It seems boom or bust for both of these teams based on how well these guys are performing.
That's the danger when you run a composition that revolves around that one player. The Sombra has to do everything, right? The Sombra initiates, the Sombra, if she goes down, has that domino effect. All of the attention that she's brought away from the rest of the team is suddenly there in spades, and the dive gets focused down. Then you don't build up your ultimates, and you don't have a chance to claw back the damage that you're missing when you're going up against a poke composition that gets to just spam damage at you and shoot at your head and build up ultimates before the fight properly starts. Whereas dive, you only build up ultimates when it properly starts going.
Looks like we're going to take a couple of minutes getting into this next match, which will be Volskaya, whilst we give our teams a little bit of a chance to rest and relax their wrists. So we're going to throw to a quick break ourselves, guys. Don't go too far, because we'll be back hopefully in a couple of minutes. Welcome back, everybody. We are still here at match point between Manipulus and Sharks in Suits, currently standing in favor of Sharks in Suits. So are we going to see, Moxie, the second of today's upsets?
History may well repeat itself, Phil, because, it's Volskaya. And we know that Miko is strongest when you're on Sombra. And I think if there was any map that we got to see Sombra when she wasn't quite that meta must pick, it's been Volskaya because of the way that this point is set out. There's just not that many places you can safely hide from an EMP.
Looks like we've currently got Miko hovering over that on the offense, but I'm interested here in Vegeta running the defensive Pharah. It's an interesting choice.
It's gonna buy you a lot of time as well, because you have to move through that choke. Even if you're running dive, you still have to get from one end to the other, which means Vegeta can just take precedence in the sky. And Golden, if you don't have West constantly sticking by your side, it's going to be extremely fragile. Flex God and West are both going to be in the middle of the other team's composition. JCK is going to be in the air with Enjoy Silence, and Miko's going to be doing Miko's own thing. Sombras, they go for the flanks. They don't try to help and babysit their main supports.
You see a sleep come through onto Flex God, but of course immediately dealt with that and climbing rapidly in ult charge here. Looking for a battle for aerial superiority here. Enjoy Silence, look for some direct rockets. Here's the hack from Miko. Lot of damage there into Jordan, but he will get out of it. Flex God finds Rainy Day, and that is a massive opening here. Flex God go down as well. Golden has to use the Bionade just to support himself through that. As the res comes back through onto Flex God, this is looking like it might be a really quick hack here for Sharks and Suits.
Res came through, but because Malicious, his attention was drawn away. Another side of Manipulus falls, and Sharks in Suits, they're burning these ultimates up so quickly that even if they manage to get A, they're going to be able to hold on to this EMP and use it to break open B.
Oh, well, Nano Boost is going to come out and Sleep comes through onto Fruity. He's going to manage the Primal Rage here, and he's starting to get picked. 2 ticks already capped here for Sharks and Suits, so the rest comes back through onto Golden. They haven't got the numbers here. They're looking very rough, and they might want that res back. Fruity will commit the Primal Rage, and we will see the hold here, I think.
West gets demeched on the side of the map. And so when you go into the baby demon form, you just fall straight back up and enjoy silence. Their revenge concussive on the Ana.
Miko with the EMP, it's a big one! Hits 4, sprays down, Vegeta has to TP out. We'll see the TP right the way back in again. And Manipulus are making them fight for this one in a big way as Miko gets run down. Sharks and Suits still in this. West has to dash the way out to avoid the self-destruct that catches JCK. And this was looking so good for Sharks and Suits for a very quick cap here. But it's not going to work out. We'll see the kill come through onto Enjoy Silence. And still in this fight from Manipulus, Bob slept just off the side of the point. Vegeta finds Golden. Here's the barrage now from Vegeta. Won't find much, but can't get out of the way of the self-destruct that knocks down Vegeta. And this, sorry, what a fight, Moxie.
It was sloppy from Sharks and Suits because they wanted to keep a hold of ultimates. They wanted to carry them through. You saw how reluctant they were. First to use that EMP, the barrage, the Diva Bomb. West only puts it in at the very end of that fight where you've got no other choice apart from going for that reset. You do still have these Hammond Mines and a Nano Boost, which you can put onto Miko to just immediately get you all of the EMP charge you can possibly want. Manipulus need to get an early pick, need to be able to spot out the Sombra first.
Going to see that come on through onto the Pharah here as well. Enjoy Silence. Managing a couple of rockets in here. Will find the direct. Find 2 in a row. Dongalicious down. And Sharks in Suits explode onto point B. And Manipulus have been judged and found wanting.
You don't need an EMP if your Pharah can hit shots like that. My goodness, now you've just got to deal with the stalls, and Miko's kind of building the EMP naturally as well.
The hacked and a hack Tracer is a dead Tracer. There's the EMP. Will hit 3 and the numbers are still in favor of Sharks in Suits. Manipulus get run down, and that is a 3-minute 23-second time bank. That is astonishing from Sharks in Suits.
There was just no room for Manipulus to breathe as soon as Sharks and Suits crossed into the territory of Point B. That Pharah has no right finding the value that you saw on point B, because as soon as she actually sets foot on point B, there's nowhere to hide. All of your approach, all of the places that you can disguise yourself around with those massive big opening bay doors on the approach of the point, they're gone. They're obsolete. It is just you and the open ground and the open air. And you're able to live. You're able to get those rockets connecting. You're able to pull up to an ultimate, all while Manipulus just tries to really get you out of the sky, and they're not able to do so. And they're not able to do so, and they're not able to counter the EMP, and that means the stagger picks, the Tracer, the Hammond, they all become absolutely useless, and the ability completely swept out from under them.
I wouldn't say that this was completely a Farah difference fight, but I feel like Enjoy Silence did so much there, and Vegeta really struggled to make the Farah work here. I'd love to see him not run this here, because I feel like it really let him down on this one.
You're relying on your Farah to be that constant pressure. The backline has to know that the Farah is there. And while they're attacking, are they? Do you know what? I'm gonna wait. We've got 2 seconds.
They're ready to go.
There's a Bastion. It's going to be spotted out. Mika's on that Sombra, so they know exactly what happened!
Oh, you can just see the information bounce off Miku straight onto Enjoy Silence, and it has a catastrophic effect for Vegeta, who's going to give it up and come back in on the Tracer. How embarrassing.
Rainy Day off the sim as well. Going to be going into the creature. They're just going full dive. They're going to try and ignore the Sombra problem. But the Sombra problem is not going to be ignoring them, because Dungalicious is onto the Lucier. And Notorious is down.
The spray down. This is so good from Sharks in Suits. They're being so oppressive here. Manipulus just don't have any space to work with. We see the dive over the top, and all it does is give Enjoy Silence the barrage! In from the back, Rainy Day and Dongalicious down. Vegeta will get out, but huge numbers advantage here, and the res likely to come off.
They aren't able to kill the Mercy. The entire team pulls rank around that support, and the Mercy is able to stay up. Res doesn't come through, but it's not the Thor that you're worried about right now. It's Miko. He's in the back line, and he's got his eye on your off tank.
I'm out of here.
Gets the spray down, gets out again, gets back to health. And of course, Enjoy Silence now back in the fight and ready to go.
Oh, Miko's going to have this EMP as well. JCK does go down, and that's huge. Manipulus can try and capitalize on this, but Flex God is just not going to allow it.
Oh, what a stun onto Flex God! Stunned before the power drive is complete. He does get out again, but Vegeta, in the meantime, is doing all of the heavy lifting here. The teammate comes through on the back of the pulse bomb, now looking for that melee kill combo into the back. We'll see them start to gain presence on the point. There's that first tick, and we don't have anybody from Sharks in Suits really ready to contest.
And what we will have for Manipulus is a much larger time bank. They are going to have 4 minutes and 55 seconds. You are coming straight into the face of the EMP of Vegeta! Going to go aggressive, trying to find Enjoy Silence, trying to build up to that next pulse bomb. Dungalicious that I'm worried for right now, though, bro. You don't want to beat until you see that ultimate come out from Miko, otherwise all your hard work is just going to be disappearing from your health bars.
Day's going to get pressured away. Conk Blast didn't quite find the disconnect it would have liked. Rainy Day's still alive and looking for a wraparound. Even if he can just find the couple in the sky here, that would be big, but he's not going to be given the opportunity. And now it's up for Dastorius to try and just shepherd his team away with as many primary fires as possible.
Oh, and because you lost that fight, Manipulus, you are now forced into the position where every time you approach this point, you are taking so much spam damage from Enjoy Silence. You've already got the barrage built up, so the barrage doesn't have to go aggressive, but every once in a while, you can just put a couple of rockets in through those windows, through those bay doors, to make Manipulus' life absolute hell before they can get onto that point.
Just look at what they've got to walk into. We're going to try it out with the self-destruct, but it lands a little bit too high, a little bit too wide. Instead, we see the 1-for-1 trade. Golden and Jordan both down. Nana Boost going to come through onto Vegeta, finds the pulse bomb stick and takes Flex God down. Sound Barrier now traded for Barrage, and Manipulus have found an answer to every single question that Sharks in Suits have asked here. But we're going to see a heavy respawn trickle start to come through now for Sharks in Suits. And they're going to buy a huge amount of time in this time back exchange with Vegeta and Rain Day between. Oh no, Rain Day! Got a little bit too close to the little sun that is the Hammond minefield. And this is looking a lot worse all of a sudden for Manipulus.
Golden's going to be coming in with a nano as well. They don't even need to commit it. 50% of the point is all Manipulus will be seeing popping up for now. And Miko 40% away from this next EMP. West going to be holding on to the Diva Bomb. You don't even need to wait for EMP to come through when you're trying to find value with it against a Winston. You just have to worry about that one tiny little bubble. It's not the Reinhardt, it's not the Orisa, it's not the constant shield that's there to keep him safe.
Spray down here, getting ever closer to that all-important EMP. Most of the way there now, and a nano boost online and ready to go. Joy Silence has swapped over onto the Genji, and Golden does such a good job of getting out of the way there. I'm amazed he survived that one, because the chase there from Jordan was phenomenal, and Miko just sniped Fruity out of the air with the SMG. And this is going to be another hold here. Even as the stun connects, the kill comes through onto Rainy Day. Vegeta goes for the reset, and we're now at 2 minutes here for Manipulus.
Oh, Diva out of mech, out of existence! JCK able to get their hands dirty. Takes the baby Diva out, leaving Manipulus yet again waiting 1 minute 45 seconds, and they still have to walk through what is really not going to be a pleasant experience for these guys right now. EMP, Blade. It's not going to be Nano, but Enjoy Silence on that Genji. If the EMP comes through, you're not going to have any way to counter it.
Not even close to having a sound barrier, and we know how difficult those are to get off around an EMP. Vegeta's going to open things up here as Golden and JCK both go down. Rain Day still holding on to the high noon for now. Even if they can get this point and start to get some ticks on the board, we're going to see a really heavy respawn cycle come in and start to tick this through. There's the second tick. Got to see somebody start to get in and contest, and Joy Silence isn't going to be given that luxury. EMP is going to come through, connects with 3. No kills on the back of it just yet, but at this point, it is all about burning time off the clock. Self-destruct's gonna find Miko. Golden's down, and the recontest is still coming through here. Flex God already used the primary raise just to burn again, just that little bit more time off the clock, but that is it. Nobody's able to tag in, even with a hero dash in from Golden.
But surely, if you're Manipulus, you are calling back, you're thinking of when you had 1 minute 21 seconds to work with on Hollywoodville. And your stomach is in your boots right now.
This is such a time back. This is 3.5 team fights for Sharks and Suits compared to 1 and a bit for Manipulus. Like, they've got to get this perfect the first time through to get another go at burning the time back down for Sharks and Suits, because this is looking insurmountable.
I mean, they have to get a tick. At the least. They ideally need to get onto point B. But worst comes to the worst, the one thing that you need to walk away with is at least half of point A. Otherwise, with 3 minutes 40 seconds on the clock, you can just afford to eco push all the way until you've got 6 odd circles chalked up on your board, and then wash over the other side with just those alone.
And we're seeing concessions here. Rainy Day moving over onto a Sombra of his own to counter what Miko is doing. We haven't seen the Sombra out from Rainy Day. No idea if he can make this work, how this matchup is going to go.
I mean, it has to be. You have to commit to this. You can't afford seconds to scout out the composition that you're running into. And again, I worry there's just nothing protecting Destorius on this Ana. And if you're Ana,
oh my gosh!
You don't have a composition. You don't have a Sombra.
That is so unfortunate. That's 10 seconds gone before the first team fight even comes through. Rez will be employed just to bring Rainy Day back into the fight, but look at the difference in ult charge here. A quarter of the way to the EMP already for Miko, and Rainy Day now struggling, and they know that he's on the field. They're going to be spamming out and looking for him. Golden has a nice high ground position in the back, takes the direct rocket, has to use the grenade just to get themselves back in the fight, but in the meantime, Enjoy Silence has found Vegeta. Jordan's down, and we're below 30 seconds here. A half, a third is looking even more unlikely here for Manipulus.
It's looking unsurmountable
Oh no!
right now because you're just trying your And your support staggered out. They don't have an ultimate to work with. The desperation swaps are coming through, but Phil, it's dire straits.
They were relying on Rennie to get that last second tag in. And as the hack comes through onto Jordan, the contest is not going to happen. No, we get it. Vegeta with the swap over onto the Tracer gets this going, but they just don't have the numbers, and they're coming into the EMP. Shuts down Fruity entirely, and that is it. A complete shutout here by Sharks and Suits.
There was just no contest on Miko. As soon as those spawn doors open and the Sombra's there, there was no CC, there was no attention, because you're just trying to avoid the problem. You're trying to dance away from it, avoid the Sombra with mobility, but when you come out of the spawn doors, everyone's got to walk the same path, Phil. Everyone's got to walk into the spray pattern that Miko put down, and with 3 minutes 40 seconds on the clock to pick up a single little bit of Volskaya, you're feeling pretty confident.
We're seeing Manipulus move over on the defense onto that meta Genji poke double shield comp. There is a world here where they manage a full 3 minute 40-second defense, but I feel like the support line that they've got is not supporting that possibility.
There's no Batiste. You're running the Mercy. I understand why you're running the Mercy. You're worried that you're going to lose someone early, that Miko's going to be up to those shenanigans and go after the stories. And if you run that Batiste, they'd either be hacked out, so Immortality Field would be gone, or you'd have to invest it just to keep the Ana up and alive, which then still takes it off the table. At least you'll have the res if the Orisa, if the Sigma goes down early, but it does put you behind in healing. Does allow Rainy Day, though, a little bit more damage potential on this Ashe with that damage boost, but you do have to hit the shots to make it count.
Well, we're going to see Manipulus set up on the high ground on the right-hand side, and that's a good start. That'll buy you a few seconds as Enjoy Silence goes down to the boosted Ashe shot. And now Rainy Day knows exactly where JCK is, can't land the shot. Now we're going to see Enjoy Silence desperate, looking for a way around the shielding and from the boosted damage coming through from the rockets of Enjoy Silence. Disaster is going to be slowed down as they attempt to make the rotation. Hanks away in the background. Rainy Day not quite able to land anything just yet. Takes a lot of splash damage. 1 or 2 kills here, and that is it. That's got to be it. Rain Day, Dongalicious both down. Your main threat and your res potential. Your main tank now down. Miko looking for the hack. We'll see the blade come through, but he gets slapped and he gets hacked. And Sharks in Suits, the 3rd time they come up against Manipulus, they manage the W, and they come away as the Advanced Division EU champions for GitGud Season 5.
And yet again, we get to see such a massive media upset in those results. You're gonna just enjoy silence, you know? This fire, like, wait for it. It's like, gets one, and then boom! Immediately after, the pharmacy completely gone.
It's because Dongalicious was
well.
following the line that Vegeta was following as well, because they've got to move as a unit, so it was just so obvious and predictable. Oh,
get him into those pharmacy tournaments. I tell you right now, he'll be ranking #1 in pharmacy world tournament.
Wow. What a turn. What a day for GitGud, looking at what we've had on the cast today, going, oh yeah, well, of course, this is going to be going the way of Manipulus. Like, they've met 2 times before, and they've won both times. And Sharks in Suits just seem to be asking questions that Manipulus had no idea how to answer towards the end there.
One of them being, what do we do against the Sombra? Because
yeah.
I think we can all point to the one big difference between the teams, and that was Miko. If there's anyone to vote for MVP, yes, the rest of the team pulled that weight. The tanks were stellar, the supports kept everyone up and alive and did not go down early. But if you didn't have Miko, if you didn't have that pressure, if you didn't have that constant first pick potential, if you didn't have that EMP on your side, things would have been a lot more difficult for this team today.
Well, I guess there's a lot of lessons to be learned here for Manipulus, particularly in regards to how one deals with a Sombra. But it looks like we are going to be getting somebody in from our newly crowned champion Sharks in Suits, ready to talk about that match just gone. And it will be West coming through to talk us through that. So the second he's in the booth, we'll be ready to go. In fact, here he is. West, congratulations. Welcome to the stream. boy, what a series. How are you feeling?
I can't even put it into words, honestly. I'm just lost. My voice is gone. We just came off a loser bracket final as well.
Mm.
So
It's been
yeah,
a
just really
very
happy.
busy day for you guys.
Yeah, open division yesterday as well, which didn't go too well.
Still, this has got to be a nice consolation prize, surely, to come out on
Yeah,
top here.
yeah, of course.
So it seemed like you were just the composition you were running just seemed to be so far outside of Manipulus's ability to comprehend what the counter was. Is this something you've dealt with specifically to counter Manipulus, or is this just what's been working for you so far?
Well, halfway through our loser bracket final, we swapped onto dive to counter one of their DPS. It was on who was it? Lazy on Unluckers, a really good fire player. So we went dive to sort of deny him getting any value, and the same
Mhm.
was with Vegeta on their team today.
I
We
see.
sort of knew that, like, from the 2 times we played them, we got pooed on basically. They
Thank you for
treated us,
toning that down for
yeah,
broadcast, by the way.
that's okay. Yeah, they rolled us both times, and Vegeta's a incredible player. So we basically knew, like, we have to shut this guy down, otherwise we're going to lose. And like you probably saw it on stream, this Genji's just incredible.
Very good, Genji. Yeah, agreed.
So I know I personally love to see Sombra play, and I don't get to see a lot of it. So do pass my thanks along to Mika. Was that something that
Sure.
you guys had prepared for Manipulus, or is that something that your team composition really does revolve around?
We usually run Sombra and Dive anyway. Usually paired with a Tracer, but with Toby, or Enjoy Silence as you know him in today, he's got a really solid Genji. So we were playing a
Mm.
little bit of Genji today, and his Pharah is insane as well. So we just sort of put Toby on his comfort picks. He came in last
Mhm.
minute, so yeah, it helps us secure the win.
So at the end of the GitGud bracket, clearly you've maybe had a little bit of inspiration to come and take part in Open Division as well. Do you think that taking part in GitGud has done much for your own personal level of play?
Absolutely. I came in season 4 in Diamond Division, went out first round at playoffs, and season 5 ended up taking home advance. So yeah, it
That's,
definitely does help you improve. Absolutely.
that's quite the comeback, and yeah, you guys really put on a clinic today. So it's clearly to the observer had quite an impact.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking towards the future, you guys look very strong. Obviously, being the champions, we would hope that you would come back for the next season of GG. But would you look to come in at perhaps a slightly higher ranking?
We would like to, yeah. One of our support players, Sarcastic, actually went over cap early on in the season, so
Hmm.
we'd really like to bring him back. And with him, it would put us into expert. So
Okay, great. Well, we're going to
we
be
would like
looking
to go
forward
there.
to seeing you guys next season then. So we're about ready to wrap up the broadcast, Wes. But before you go, anybody you'd like to shout out?
Um, just production staff, really. Elo help
Ah,
staff. All of you guys do an amazing job.
it's very kind of you. Thank you. I think that's the first interview we've had where you've. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear that on broadcast, but yeah, we also got a thank you from our producer in the background. So again, Wes, thank you very much. Lovely to have you on the broadcast. Go back and enjoy
Thank you for
your win
casting.
with your team.
Will do. Thank
Everybody
you very
else,
much.
thank you. Everybody else, I'm afraid that's all we've got for the EU broadcast today, but we will of course be seeing NA games coming up a little bit later, and so some of those I think should be at sensible hours for gamers like yourselves. So feel free to tune in and catch those. Should be another exciting round of games. Moxie, before we sign off, anything you'd like to say to round out the broadcast?
Just Sombra. Come on, we just
Just
saw that she
Sombra.
was impactful. Just play Sombra, people. She's fun, she's enjoyable, and if you've got EMP, she nets you a free fight one.
All right, guys. So if you're coming up against a lot of Sombras in your games today, you know where to direct the hate mail. But from myself, from Moxie, and from all of the wonderful backstage staff here at Elo Hell Esports, that's going to be the end of the broadcast. But we hope to see you all at another Elo Hell product in not too much time.